All right, welcome to kind of a part two to the last one that I did. This one is going to be more about how to increase the amount of detail within the midground and the background for your entire conversion here. So right now we have where we left off. I got rid of the detail on the mid and detail slider on both maps. I just have them in the timeline. I even disabled the erode features. So you just got the combination of these two maps. Now we'll scrub through here, find a good example. This is a good example. Okay, so zoom in here. So this is what you get out of the V1 and the V2 map combination. Now, what you want to do is you want to disable your V1 map for now. Just leave your V2 map here. And you want to go in and you want to play with your contrast, your highlight, your shade, all that stuff. So we can play with the contrast first, see what happens. So that pulls that out. So we can pull all of this out, right? And then we take shade and we drop the shade down, see what happens here. So you can see what it already kind of does for you. Then you change your pivot here. See the difference? So you can play with it a lot here. You should just play with shade first. Shade is a good starting point to try to just pull out a little extra detail in your map. So we'll start off at 0 here. So this is regular map. Nothing's done to it. Look at the background here. Can I get rid of effects here? There we go. So, got this map here. I'm going to boost the shade. And that's going to bring this back up here. So as you can see, it's not really affecting the blacks in the background. It's just picking up the grays. And then you can play with your contrast afterwards and see what you can do with that. That might pick up some extra info. But for now, just boost this right to around here. And then drop the contrast just a tiny bit here. So as you can see, this is what it looks like now. Added detail in the background. Smoke gets picked up more. Things in the black start getting picked up just a tiny bit more. And this is regular without the enhancements. So it does a lot for your mid and background detail here. What's great about this is, so say I boost the shade back up here. Maybe I want to get more of that, the background. Drop the contrast again. Now you get all that information here. All right. Do a little test on mid detail here. Now, you can play with the highlights too. So you can brighten the whites or darken them. My suggestion here, because I'm tinkering with it along with you guys here, is you can kind of drop it down to 0 and then start slow, so you can pick it up a little bit or you can drop it a little bit. I would say for this case, I want to drop the highlight a little bit here. Maybe 24.5 is good. That way when I go back to here and then I can combine the V1 map, it might just add that extra detail that we're looking for here. Boost that back up to a reasonable amount. And that seems to be picking it up pretty perfectly, honestly. So that's basically how you do that. And then you can change the opacity of your V2 map as well to kind of drop that background a little bit more here. And then you have a more detailed map here. See how the mountains come up in the background now. Got more detail in the background here, and this is before any detail enhancement at all. This is just contrast, shade, highlight. So you can see you get a lot more information back here. And you still get your deep blacks, but things seem to be more detailed on this. Problem with this scene though is it likes to transition into bright like that, and I don't think it should. It adds kind of a clippy motion to it. But that's more of a a map issue in general. Scroll through a little bit more here. You can see a lot more added detail to it. So we'll do this frame for instance here. So we look at this frame, all this detail that's in it. If we were to default the map back to just regular V2 and V1 with no enhancement to it whatsoever, this is what it would look like. Alright, so it's a catch-22. You can add more detail in some frames, less detail in others. This will help dial in some of the 3D effect on certain scenes that you want. Maybe you want more of a pop out in one scene and more of a 3D altogether quality in another scene. You can achieve both of those with just this simple edit. And since this is an image sequence and it has all the frames, you can go in and you can go frame by frame, look in your folder, and then you can go into your Fusion tab and you can see exactly what frame you're on. It says it right here. And it tells you how many frames are in it. So I'm at like 730. Say I wanted to edit this one right here. I wanted to drop some of the grays here and bring more of the black in. I could go in, I could cut this clip out by frame, where it starts and where it ends. And then I can go into the color tab, edit it specifically so it kind of drops those mid detail a little bit and really harnesses it on that foreground there where that skeleton is and Thor doing his little chain thing there. And that could add like a nice deepness to this specific scene. And then you could have another scene where it's kind of like close up, like let's see, like this for instance. So this is like a close up. It's like a downward angle coming down. The heads are really close. You could find a way to cut this out and then kind of drop this gray in the background here and just leave these two here. This will drop the background a little bit farther and really pop these two people out of the frame. Now this could come with added artifacts on your final conversion. It depends on what resolution your maps are and all that. But this can definitely add a really nice 3D effect scene by scene through your process here. You can also go into this tab here and you can take this, and if you go, I think, is it playback or is it clip? Here it is. So if you go to your timeline tab here, you highlight both of your videos. Go to your timeline tab and then click detect scene cuts. This will go through your video and detect all of the scene cuts that you have in your video, and it will dynamically cut between every single scene. So right now you see it's washing through here relatively fast for depth maps of 518 origin for resolution. And once this is done, it'll dynamically cut your timeline videos or any video in your timeline that you highlighted into each scene respectively. So that way, you don't even need to search. Here it is. So you don't even need to search for specific clips and cut them yourself. You can simply go to your color tab here or your Fusion tab and pick your clip. So let's see here. So say you have this clip, it plays through. That clip ends. Boom, your next clip. Coming through, ends, next clip. So some clips a little bit iffy, some others really good. It doesn't really matter too much as long as you have this. You can do the same edits on two if they kind of match up a little bit. But yeah, this definitely helps out a lot. Have all of your clips right here, and then you just export it out regularly. It'll all combine all the clips together normally as it was originally, so it's not that big of a deal. And this will really help out a lot. Right now, for instance, say I wanted to edit this map here. So this is regular. So say I wanted to, I don't know, deepen a little bit, get rid of some of this detail here. I could just drop the shade. Drop the shade a little bit. And increase the contrast slightly. And there you go. You have your deeper well. And that'll have more of a deeper sense. So you have these very much closer to where you want it. And then the middle will be much farther away. They'll have a deeper effect on this scene specifically. And you could also do the opposite. So if I were to take this and say boost the shade, it'll bring out that detail, and then I drop the contrast a little bit here, and it'll bring that in. It'll bring everything closer on the edges, and have that nice detail in the middle here. So there's a lot you can do with this, a lot to play with. It's a lot of personal perspective here, so you can test it out, see what may be good, what may not be good. It's going to take a little bit of trial and error, but once you get a hang of it, once you figure out what gets placed where on your final conversions by the edits that you do, you'll start to be able to edit much faster. You'll be able to figure things out a little bit quicker than you normally would on your first go ahead. But yeah, this is basically just all the map edits that I've done so far. You can combine more maps together, stuff like that, experiment with that. But for now, this is pretty much just the simple method of combining V1 and V2, and then maybe adding some extra zest to some of your scenes. Maybe, you have a problem scene that's just not really up to par with what you want out of your 3D experience. You can play with it. Again, you obviously have this mid-detail slider, so say after I do this enhancement, I play with the contrast and the shading here to get that middle part in. I can just boost the detail, and it just adds all that detail back into the frame. So you get that detail back. See if I drop it back to 0. That's 0. That's all the way to 100. So it really adds that detail back on the edges here. So you lost a little bit of information when you boosted the contrast and the shade. Now that detail's kind of back within the image. It doesn't look just completely white or washed out. This could help out a lot on wide shots. But yeah, thank you for joining me. This was part 2, or some type of part 2 on that first part that we did, learning how to combine maps. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this helps you, and if you have any questions, again, feel free to ask me in the Discord.